Hi, RushRecap here. Today, I'm going to explain a war horror movie called The Red Ghost. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. The movie begins in December 1941 during the Nazi invasion of the Soviet Union. We see a German military truck stopping at a snowy location. The soldiers get out of the vehicle, along with a captured Russian couple. The man has a sack on his head, and when it is removed, he's revealed to be dressed like Hitler. This offends the Nazis, but the man explains that they are just actors, performing in a theater. Hearing this, the soldiers ask them to perform an act. The wife is hesitant, fearing they will be killed anyway, but the husband agrees to try. He then puts on a desperate act, pretending to be Hitler. However, the Germans are not impressed by the performance and tell him to stop. The commander then directs his men to kill the couple. At this moment, gunfire erupts out of nowhere, leaving all the German soldiers dead. Moments later, the mysterious sniper who took them down appears. It turns out he is a Nazi hunter known as Red Ghost, infamous for killing thousands of German soldiers. As a result, the enemies are currently hunting him down, with a large bounty placed on his head. The Red Ghost then begins ripping off the badges of the dead soldiers. He steals some of their food and even shares it with the woman. The couple is very thankful to him and asks for his name, but he ignores them and leaves. In the following scene, we see a group of Soviet soldiers who have become separated from their unit and are trying to find their way back in heavy snow. The group includes the squad leader, Dead, and his team members, Politruc, Kostya, Moriatok, and a female nurse named Vera. There is also a wounded man named Kolya who is being carried on a stretcher. Moments later, Dead and Kostya discover a young boy who is nearly frozen to death. The boy's name is Simpleton, and he tries to explain that he is a Soviet soldier. Kostya then examines his coat and discovers no weapon or anything suspicious. At this point, we learn that Kostya has a scar on his one eye and is also mute. Although they are suspicious of Simpleton being a German spy, Dead still decides to take him along. As they continue, the journey becomes more difficult as snow begins to fall heavily. They then walk past the corpses of frozen soldiers and decide to spend the night in the ruins. Later, they gather around a bonfire to warm themselves. Everyone starts chatting, except Simpleton, who observes them from a distance. Kolya then begins cracking jokes to lighten everyone's mood, but moments later, he passes away due to his injuries, shocking everyone. Vera cries a lot and grieves for him, and it's clear that Kolya meant a lot to her. The following morning, several Nazis arrive at the site where the Red Ghost had killed their soldiers. As they clean up the place, they discuss how he has eliminated 61 Germans in just 2 months. Hearing this, the chief commander orders Captain Braun and his subordinate, Klein, to find this man as soon as possible. The Soviets, on the other hand, continue on their journey and soon arrive at a small cottage. It appears to be abandoned as a result of the German attack. Moriatok goes to check first and summons his companions after determining that it is safe. Inside, he discovers a table set with vodka and snacks. He tries to drink it, but Kostya suddenly shows up and stops him. This ensues an argument between the two, as Moriatok is adamant on drinking the vodka, but the leader, Dead, reveals that it is a German trap set for partisans with poisoned food and vodka. The rest of the group soon follows, and we see that Vera is heavily pregnant. Dead and Politruc explore the house and discover the inhabitants who have been killed in the barn. They then cover the bodies with a blanket found nearby. In another scene, Braun's team is seen driving through the snow. Klein tells them where the Red Ghost is operating, how many people he has killed, and in which village. However, Braun interrupts by asking whether he likes saunas. Klein responds that he doesn't, but Braun implies that he is more interested in the sauna than the Red Ghost. Hearing this, Klein mentions that there is an abandoned village nearby with a great working bathhouse. He also assures Braun that the sector is clear and there are no enemies present. Back in the house, Dead decides they must go to the nearby village for food and matches. Vera is not feeling well, so she decides to stay behind with Moriachok as her guard. However, as soon as the others depart, the Germans arrive at the same house. When Vera sees them, she quickly hides beneath a large chest. Klein shows Braun the poisoned food on the table, boasting that it is his work that has successfully killed many Russians. Meanwhile, Moriachok catches up with his friends who have not traveled too far. He informs them that the Germans have arrived at the farm and Vera is in danger. Politruk punches him in the face and scolds him for leaving her alone. However, Moriachok claims that he went outside to urinate, saw the Germans, and fled because he could not fight them alone. The group is now forced to devise a plan to save Vera. They stand back with their rifles and keep an eye on the Germans in case they leave. Back at the house, the soldiers prepare a bathhouse for Braun. They start playing with a pig, but Braun soon appears and shoots the animal dead. He orders them not to play with their food and be more serious. Meanwhile, Vera continues to observe them silently from her hiding position. Elsewhere, Simpleton talks with Dead and inquires what's wrong with Kostia's eye. The leader reveals that a long time ago, Kostia stole an apple from his garden. Dead fired a shot into the sky to scare him, but he slipped and got his eye impaled by a branch. Dead admits that he still feels guilty for the incident. On the other hand, Klein warns Braun not to go to the bathhouse because the red ghost is nearby. This enrages the captain and he starts chastising his subordinate. Meanwhile, another soldier named Gunther hears Vera's movements under the chest. He then opens the chest and is shocked to discover her inside. He tries to protect her and leave quietly, but Braun notices something strange and asks him what happened. In the end, Gunther is forced to admit that someone is hiding in the chest. Following this, Braun begins interrogating Vera with Gunther as the translator. The latter appears sympathetic towards her and reassures her that they won't hurt her. Vera then reveals that she is 8 months pregnant and that the house belongs to her. However, Klein notices that she is not in any of the photographs hanging in the room and suspects she's lying. Vera then changes her story, explaining that she fled from a neighboring village and sought refuge here. Unfortunately, trouble arises when Klein discovers her military uniform and ID in the corner, revealing that she is a soldier. She begins to panic and pleads with them not to kill her, but to no avail. Klein begins to brutally beat her up, causing Gunther to run outside and vomit. Sometime later, Klein throws the bloody and barefoot Vera out of the house. The Soviet soldiers who were observing the house from a distance are horrified. Dead declares that Vera cannot be saved and they must leave. However, Simpleton suddenly rushes forward and crawls to the front perimeter trench. Moriachok notices this and follows him as well. The two then easily eliminate 3 German guards in the trench. On the other hand, Klein decides to hang Vera, but one of the older soldiers objects, saying it's too harsh a punishment for a pregnant woman. Klein agrees and decides to shoot her instead. Vera then begins cursing at him and claims that God will punish him for his crimes. When Gunther translates her words, Klein hesitates to kill her. He hands the gun to Gunther, saying he has 2 minutes to execute the woman. At this moment, someone shoots the soldier in the head and kills him. It turns out the red ghost has arrived, and he throws several grenades at the house. Vera takes this opportunity to run away through the fence. The Soviet soldiers also begin attacking the Germans, and with the help of the red ghost, they manage to kill the majority of the Nazis. Meanwhile, Braun, who was in the bathroom, runs naked into the barn seeking refuge. The red ghost soon arrives at the bathhouse, where Klein pours boiling water on him. Klein then tries running away, but he trips and hits his forehead on a log, knocking him out. He wakes up shortly after, but pretends to be dead. The red ghost isn't faring any better, as he too loses consciousness due to the severe burns on his body. After eliminating everyone, the Soviet soldiers breathe a sigh of relief and bring the unconscious red ghost inside. They gather around the table and begin eating the food left by the Germans. They discuss what to do next when suddenly, Vera starts having contractions. Fortunately, Dead has some experience in delivering babies, so he and Simpleton help her with the process. After a long struggle, she finally gives birth to a healthy boy, and everyone celebrates the moment. Elsewhere, we see Braun dressed as a woman, running out onto the road in front of a group of Germans. The group is led by the same officer who initially tasked him with hunting the red ghost. He is repulsed by Braun's appearance and stares at him with a disappointed look. Shortly after, the red ghost awakens and begins to prepare his rifle. He doesn't say a word and simply nods to the Soviet soldiers, acknowledging their presence. They understand that he is a lone wolf and won't be joining them on their journey. The Soviets, now with a newborn in their care, decide to move out quickly before more Germans arrive. Meanwhile, the officer chastises Braun for his cowardice and orders him to resume the hunt for the red ghost. Braun, still shaken, reluctantly agrees, knowing that failure is not an option. The officer then sends out scouts to find the red ghost's whereabouts. As the Soviet soldiers trek through the harsh winter landscape, they come across more signs of German activity. They decide to lay low for a while, finding another abandoned cottage to rest and regroup. Dead and Politruck discuss their next move, realizing that their mission has become more complicated with the baby and Vera's condition. Back at the German camp, Braun and his men are preparing for another attack. They gather intelligence and strategize their next steps, determined to capture or kill the elusive red ghost. Braun, though still shaken, is driven by a desire to redeem himself in the eyes of his superiors. In the cottage, the Soviet soldiers bond over their shared experiences and hardships. Simpleton shares more about his life before the war, and Moriachok finally admits his fears and regrets. The baby brings a sense of hope and purpose to the group, reminding them of what they're fighting for. Suddenly, they hear the sound of approaching vehicles. The Germans have found them. Dead orders everyone to take their positions and prepare for a fight. The red ghost, who had been tracking the Germans, also arrives at the scene. He silently sets up his sniper position, ready to assist the Soviets. The battle is fierce and chaotic. The Soviet soldiers fight valiantly, protecting Vera and the baby at all costs. The red ghost picks off Germans one by one, his accuracy and stealth unmatched. Despite being outnumbered, the Soviets and the red ghost hold their ground. In the climax of the battle, Braun confronts the red ghost. They engage in a brutal hand-to-hand fight, showcasing their combat skills. Despite his burns and injuries, the red ghost manages to overpower Braun, finally ending his reign of terror. With Braun dead and the German forces decimated, the remaining soldiers retreat. The Soviets and the red ghost, though battered and bruised, have won the battle. They gather their wounded and prepare to move out again. In the final scenes, the red ghost shares a brief, silent moment with Dead and his team. There's a mutual respect between them, forged through the shared struggle and bloodshed. The red ghost then disappears into the wilderness, continuing his one-man war against the invaders. The movie ends with the Soviet soldiers, now with a new sense of hope and determination, marching on. Vera cradles her baby, symbolizing the new life and future they are fighting to protect. The red ghost remains a legend, his actions inspiring resistance and courage in the hearts of those who hear his story. And that's a wrap on Asterisk, the Red Ghost Asterisk. If you enjoyed this recap and want to see more, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to RushRecap. Until next time, stay safe and keep watching.